We are the International Students Committee, and for the past 9 months, we work to confront the complexities of our time.
Under the theme of shifting global power, we've brought generations into conversation, not always in agreement, but in dialogue.
It's been a process marked by challenges and insight.
Through discussions and shared events, we found more questions than answers.
Our need to engage, to understand and to act has never felt more immediate.
We observed that aggression has taken new forms. It's trade wars, cyber attacks and strategic pressure.
The rules we once relied on feel less certain, and the world seems more fragmented than ever.
We see the cracks beginning to show.
Alliances that once stood firm are now being challenged.
In this new reality, real strength is measured not in unity, but in self-reliance.
What does security truly mean?
It is not just about borders anymore.
It's about resilience, about trust, and the ability to adapt to the unexpected.
We must innovate how we govern, how we grow, and how we solve problems together.
This moment in history is an opportunity to reimagine progress.
The future will belong to those who choose collaboration over conflict and vision over fear.
Welcome to the 54th St.Gallen Symposium.
We hope you will enjoy the journey. Over to you, Charlotte, Luca, and Richard.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome and applause. I'm so happy to see so many familiar faces, but also some new ones. Since we have discussed the topic of confronting scarcity in this very moment last year, many perspectives have changed, and our annual theme of shifting global power has become increasingly relevant day by day.
Exactly, Charlotte. Waking up in the weeks leading up to this moment has been a journey, not only because of all the things still needed to be done, but even more so, every day we were wondering what changed the world this night. Of course, the first thing that springs to mind from the last few weeks has been tariffs. The New York Times titled, "Trump has threatened much worse, but the 10% tariffs will still sting." That doesn't sound too bad. What do you think, Luca?
Not bad? Well, the Neue Zürcher Zeitung from Switzerland had a very different stance. Trump's tariffs are obscene, not driven by economics, but by a raw will to power. And this is, in some ways, exactly what shifting global power is all about. And yet, Europe wasn't entirely surprised, given the developments since January. But still, we were shocked by how it all played out. But tell me, Charlotte, what's the current mood in Asia on this?
Well, other parts in the world saw their chance in the midst of this madness. The Times of India reported, India leads global market recovery, first in world to rebound from Trump's tariff shock.
And with these different headlines, we wanted to show you how different the perspectives on our annual theme can be. And honestly, it's not up to the three of us to decide which viewpoint is right or wrong. In the spirit of our student-led initiative, we've spent the past 9 months trying to highlight the importance of cross-generational dialogue to tackle the complex challenges we face. But what does dialogue actually mean for us?
Really good question, Luca. The three of us thought about this question a lot, and we came to the simple but important conclusion. Dialogue is meant to create understanding, resolve conflict, and explore different perspectives. Ideally, it leads to meaningful solutions, right?
Exactly. To create dialogue, there needs to be a discussion at topics that truly engage the audience. We are lucky, because this year's theme, Shifting Global Power, couldn't be more pressing. At first glance, you might immediately think about everything that's happening in Washington and how it's affecting the world. But back when we set the theme at the beginning of last year, we were thinking about broader shifts happening all around the world, in politics, in societies, and in industries. But honestly, Charlotte, what does all of this have to do with the 54th St.Gallen Symposium?
Right here, right now, 600 people are gathered in this room. This means 600 opinions, 600 backgrounds, 600 life stories. But what unites us is our shared willingness to engage with the big questions of our time. That already puts us one step ahead of many others around the world. This gives us a real chance to lead by example. Over the next 2 days, let us choose this chance wisely. I quickly want to show you which occasion lays in front of you. Alone in this room, 85 nations are gathered. We have the big honor to welcome 200 leaders of tomorrow, which have traveled to St. Gallen from all over the world. Hundreds of them were selected through 1,000 essay submissions. And then we have the big opportunity to welcome over 100 speakers. Among them are Karin Keller-Sutter, Roland Busch, Wladimir Klitschko, Leon Schreiber, and Christian Sewing.
Wow, Charlotte, I always ask myself what all of this actually means for us. And to be honest with you all, dear audience, this means that throughout the next 2 days, it's important to remember why we're here, and also what kind of responsibility we carry. Yes, we live in uncertain times, and yes, we're facing difficult challenges, but there also lie incredible opportunities in front of us. And we believe we're past the stage of finger pointing. What we need now is cooperation, creativity, and collective action. But tell me, Richard, how would you define a successful symposium?
For us, the 54th St. Gallen Symposium will be a success when you will leave this campus, had interesting conversations that maybe sparked a little idea to make the world a better place. Anything to add?
There is one more thing I would like to add, Richard. Our personal goal is simple, that through cross-generational dialogue, we find real solutions, and that on Monday, when you sit at your desk with a cup of coffee and think back to these days in St. Gallen, you feel inspired to act. Maybe it's a new idea to improve a current strategy, a business concept that took shape, or a new friendship you made that inspired you to start working on a real solution that make our future lives better. And when you leave St. Gallen, don't leave that spark behind. Leave with the next generation in mind.
Those were some wonderful remarks on our expectations. But we're not done yet. Before we dive right into the program, we want to thank everybody on the 54th International Students Committee for making this all happen, for going the extra mile countless times, and for believing in the idea behind it all. But we're not the only ones believing in that idea. A very big thank you to all of our partners for supporting us. Also, special thanks go to our foundation and board of trustees that stood by our side the entire year. Finally, we want to thank our alumni that played a crucial role in making this symposium happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Richard. And speaking of crucial roles, our team members have each had their own unique journey over the past few months. We'd love for you to get in touch with them and hear their stories firsthand. Just look out for our blue SGS pins. After these last roughly 1,000 words, the moment has now come to welcome each and everybody of you on behalf of our wonderful team to the 54th St. Gallen Symposium. Welcome. Thank you very much. We are very happy to announce that Christoph Heusgen will join us as an additional co-conference chairman from 2026 onwards. So please join us in welcoming him here on the stage.
Good morning, everybody, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure and an honor to welcome you here today and to speak to you. For me, this is a very emotional moment because it was here 52 years ago that I started my university career at the University of St.Gallen. And it was 45 years that I stood here and got my PhD degree. And now 45 years later, I was asked to co-chair this wonderful conference. And just coming back here after so many years to be for the first time again at this symposium, I'm struck. I'm struck because the atmosphere is still the same. You have these wonderful, dedicated, committed, professional students who run the show, and I would like all of you to give a hand to this wonderful group of students. The cross-generational approach was there already 45 or 52 years ago. What has changed, and I've seen this here, is this global approach both with regard to the topics, but also global approach with regard to the presence of so many of you from all over the world. This is a truly global conference. But let me also pay tribute to somebody who I know from that time and who was the father at the time, a co-student, and who has created this, and this is Professor Wolfgang Schürer. I don't know if he's here today, but he was Mr. St.Gallen Symposium for many, many decades. Wolfgang, thank you very much for what you have done. Now, I'm a foreign policy expert. I had many stages in my career, so forgive me if I turn to my field, which is foreign policy, and talk about what is a very topical theme chosen by the students, and that is shifting power. Shifting global power. We woke up, those of you, and many of you are interested in foreign policy, we woke up this morning hearing the news about India's aggression against Pakistan as a response to what has happened a couple of weeks ago in Kashmir. And when you hear this news, the first thing as a diplomat, you say, why didn't they go to the UN? Why wasn't this discussed in the UN Security Council? And we have not even had any country asking for it to be discussed there, but they go right to war. So we see that we have a first shift of power, that people don't ask directly for the rule of law. Why don't we go to the UN and try to solve a conflict peacefully? Why do we have to engage into this exchange of military confrontation and not try to do it by the rule of law? Why do we go to the rule of the jungle? And we have heard last night, and we have already heard from the students this morning, that we have this shift of power, that we have this change in the US government, which is right now really a defining moment for the globe. We have the United States, that for many of us was always the beacon of democracy, the country that stood for the rule of law, that stood for free trade, founders of the WTO, stood for diversity and open society, that we have a government now that turns into a more, one is afraid to say it, but one has to say it, into an authoritarian regime that threatens with the use of force to implement political aims, engages in trade wars that alienate old trends, and is altering within the country the division of power, ignoring climate change, and also fighting diversity. So we have this shift in power. We continue to face every day the news about the continuation of Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine, again in violation of the UN Charter. We have today, for the next 4 days, a visit of the Chinese president to Moscow also paying tribute to the Russian president in the parade tomorrow on the Red Square. China and Russia, both countries supported the so-called Budapest Memorandum, which became a document of the Security Council guaranteeing Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. And we see also that China, and I know that there are Chinese representatives here, but we continue to see also a violation of international law in the South China Sea, the threat of use of force against Taiwan. But there are also rays of hope. We had in the last couple of weeks, elections both in Australia and Canada, where the populists were defeated, and which was also seen something that positive, that the world is not all going into this populist area. And then there's my own country, Germany. After some drama yesterday morning, you have to keep it interesting. And we see today that the new German Chancellor, the first thing he does in the morning is flying to Paris to rejuvenate the German-French relationship. In the afternoon, he will travel to Warsaw. So we have also a revitalization of German-Polish relations. The so-called Weimar Triangle has always been the core of the European Union. And I'm very optimistic that now this leadership in Europe will bring forward the European Union. And what is also very positive is that during the last weeks, many of you have observed that the British Prime Minister Starmer, also not a populist, has been again getting closer to the European Union. And let me end with something that was very important for my country, for this continent. The European Union is the most successful peace institution in the European history, because the European leaders decided when they have their conflicts, they don't go any longer to the battlefield, but they go to Brussels, they go to Luxembourg. The rule of law is what is decisive in the European Union. And this has brought the longest period of peace in the history of our continent, in the center of this continent. And therefore, to revitalize the European Union is very, very important, and I'm very optimistic there. And let me end with one word on this country, the most beautiful country as a half Swiss, I must say, in Europe. I think also this country belongs to Europe, and I hope also that the Swiss people will take the decisions to remain in Europe, with Europe, and closely aligned to Europe. And with this, it's my pleasure to hand over to the President of this wonderful university, Professor Ammann. You have the floor. Thank you very much.
My dear honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, your excellencies, welcome to the University of St. Gallen and to the 54th St. Gallen Symposium. It's a great honor for me to be able to introduce this symposium to you as our audience, and the topic is shifting global power. I think no topic could be more current than that at the moment. What we have experienced in the last few months is unprecedented. Things we have taken for granted are all of a sudden no longer there. Rules that have been applied for ages have been eradicated within an extremely short time. This has created a lot of unease, suffering, a tremendous loss of wealth. And many people think, well, what's next to come? We don't know. Things become very unpredictable and uncertain. Yet, is that a reason to despair? No, no reason to become pessimistic. If we look back in history, the periods that have enjoyed stability, social stability, economic stability, tended to have been short and always interrupted by disruption, by changes, by severe setbacks. Yet, in the end, progress has prevailed and people had been better off. So let's hope that also this time, after this period of uncertainty, people will be again better off and progress will prevail. Instead of sitting there being struck with awe by the never-ending news flow from the White House or Mar-a-Lago, we should probably be thinking about how to prepare ourselves and particularly the next generation with a mindset and the tools to deal with this uncertainty and with a world in continuous motion. And this is where the University of St.Gallen comes in. At the University of St.Gallen, or at HSG, as the insiders call us, we have a mission. And our mission is to empower talents and to inspire leaders. We are deeply committed to providing our students with an education that goes far beyond excellence and technical expertise. But we strive to cultivate in our students a sense of responsibility, an approach of intellectual curiosity and agility, and a global perspective on things. As a leading European business university, the University of St.Gallen is known for excellence in teaching, for its relevant and practice-oriented research, but most of all, it's known for its highly motivated and dedicated students. Our students do not hesitate to take initiative and to shoulder responsibility. And that's exactly what the students do who are organizing this event for the 54th time. As the president of the University of St.Gallen, I'm extremely proud of our students for their commitment and their dedication. So please join me now in thanking our students for their time, their energy and their passion that they're putting into this event. Thank you very much.